So welcome everybody to our monthly webinar. This time we'll be showcasing ROOceptionist, which is our AI voice receptionist. Super excited to showcase this to you all today. We're going to cover training, routing, and overall best practices. So how to best utilize your AI receptionist within your business, within your team, and how it can actually play with some of the other tools that you may have in your arsenal as well. Okay, so the overall topic areas that we're going to cover today is a brief overview of ROOceptionist and its goals, what it can do, and what it's still learning. We'll go through some best practices as well and tips and tricks to ensure that you have the best experience with your AI teammate. Then we'll go over setup and training and upcoming features as well. So a portion of this will just be kind of me talking about ROOceptionist as a whole, but then what I always like to do is actually go into your knowledge base and your maintenance book and showcase how you actually set it up, some tips and tricks that way too, and then also some insights. So hopefully that'll be really helpful for all of you attending now. And then as always, we will wrap with a Q&A session too. So any questions that you have, definitely put them in the chat window, and our team will be monitoring those and keeping track of all the questions. All right. So our first kind of overview here, like what receptionist can do. So receptionist was first built as a maintenance coordinator support. So people calling in and trying to report maintenance issues. So the first thing that it is very good at doing is intaking work orders, collecting details, asking any pertinent information that it needs, such as contact information, property addresses, so it can link that back to your property management system. It can also answer questions on your policies and procedures, mainly around your property management agreements, your lease agreements, and any other FAQs that you may get. The next piece is screening calls. So you can let through the calls that you want when you want them. So whether that's certain times of day, whether you want to have messages or calls being routed to you, or certain topics that you never want to get a call about, that should just always be a message. And inadvertently, this happens to screen out a lot of spam calls too. So we had one client go from about 50 spam calls a week that was distracting their team, and it weeded out all of those, which was cool to see too. And then the really nice thing, which we'll showcase in one of our example calls as well, is 24/7 support and messages. So people need to sleep, but your receptionist is always available to answer questions for tenants, create work orders, and just be there to support your team and take in messages so you don't miss any important calls. And then finally, receptionists can give you insights into what people are calling about. So we believe, Vendoroo, that your data you should have access to at all times. Like if this is your AI teammate, you should be able to see what they're doing. And so we'll show the insights where you can see all the call summaries. You can actually listen to all the calls, where they routed, what the end result of that call was too, so that if anything comes through, like a new question or a new topic, or like a bunch of questions are being routed to a certain area and you want that to change, you can see that information and course correct and make changes as needed. What ROOceptionist is still learning. So a couple cool things coming up are warm transfers and leasing support. So right now, specifically for like warm transfers, it'll just transfer on the call. And in the future, it'll be able to actually stay live in that call. Say, hey, let me see if I can get a hold of that person. It'll actually try to call that person, that end result individual. So if they were trying to transfer to Tyler, your receptionist would call Tyler and say, hey, I have so-and-so on the line. Do you want to accept this? And if I say yes, then they'll be transferred. If no, then you can take a message or just route them somewhere else. And then leasing support. Right now, we can answer questions on like basic leasing policies and procedures. But what we are currently beta testing with some clients right now is a full rental availability and leasing support structure. And we'll showcase what kind of that call looks like too at the end. And then the next piece that Canty we're working on is outbound information to the caller. So if you have a link that you want to text to the caller about, like maybe it's a show mojo link or a tenant turn link or something like that, to schedule a showing, we're working on that capability. And then multiple round robin call routing. A lot of clients have asked us for this, but right now it's not on our roadmap, but the best way to do that is to actually tie it into your call provider system and actually like build out those routing groups. So we'll go over that during our best practices. And then current work order state and work order and call history. So when somebody calls in, like as a person, you say, "Oh, I remember talking to you like the other day. Are you still wondering about like this work order or this lease or this property?" So we are working on currently expanding the historical knowledge of the receptionist as well to further better that experience both for your teams and for your tenants and other callers too. So before we dive into kind of the show and tell portion of this, what are just some general best practices? Test and play around with it are definitely the top two. So as you go in and maybe change a routing rule or you add something to the knowledge base, always make sure you save it and then give your receptionist teammate a call right away. Any changes you make are live immediately from once you save it in your maintenance book. And so we always recommend that any changes you make, you test just so it goes into play the way that you expected and wanted it to. Second piece is review some calls, just like how you would manage an employee to make sure that they're doing things right or that you're constantly leveling up your company and the information you have. Take a look at some calls a couple times a week, see if there's any new FAQs you can add, see if it's routing the way you want it to. Also, you can update the routing rules as well. The next piece is just being clear and concise in your knowledge base and routing rules. So rather than just taking your lease or taking your property management agreement and dumping that into the knowledge base, transitioning that into a like clear and concise document or clear and concise instructions so that your AI teammate knows exactly what to do and what topic to answer. Similarly to like a human, if you just gave them a document like right off the bat and said, "Hey, here's all the answers you would ever need," with no additional context or like a cheat sheet, they would have to do Control F and try to find different topics, and they may have some topics that blur the lines and may like miss a certain step or a certain stage. So as long as it's structured well, that's the best way to make it work as best as it possibly can. And I'll show you some tips and tricks to do that through like ChatGPT or Claude as well. And then optimize how and where receptionists can support. So as I mentioned, one of the things that a receptionist currently isn't able to do is like do like call down a list of people or do a round robin type call style or a hey, call all these numbers at once and first person to answer gets it. Those are really good through the phone providers. But what receptionists can do is it can tie in to your various processes. So if you're using like Lead Simple, for example, and you want leads to come in a certain way so they get documented and they get tagged into a task workflow and a campaign, we can tie into whatever workflow and number that is and route it to that place so it actually kicks off another one of your processes so nothing gets lost. So as you kind of think about adding your AI teammate here, it's best to think about how can they tie into all the existing processes that I may have versus try to give them every single process to handle. Okay, so there's two going into kind of like the setup and the training piece, and then we're gonna go into the live kind of live demo and walking through a maintenance book. But there's two key components: the knowledge base and your routing rules, and they're really meant for two separate things. So like your knowledge base is Q&A format, and it's where AI teammate can look to find like all your policies and procedures. So like it's basically its brain, like of I can go through this entire list and say, okay, somebody asked me a question, this is where I'm going to go for that answer, or somebody brought up a topic, this is where I'm going to go for that answer. Anything maintenance related or like troubleshooting or like topic that way, you don't need to include in here. Receptionist was initially built with that in mind. So these would just be more things like move in and move outs, as you see here, or home sales processes, or new leasing, or if a vendor calls to get vetted as a new preferred vendor, you would put that into your maintenance book if there's, sorry, into your knowledge base if there was a certain area that you wanted to route them to or a certain way you wanted to ask that question. And as I mentioned earlier, it is immediately live once you save it and can be updated at any time by you. So you can log in, edit it, click save, and it's live right away. The next piece is the routing rules. So this is like the engine behind it. So where in a lot of the first webinars that I did, I talked about generative versus agentic AI. And so generative is providing information based on a set of rules or a set of instructions that it has, which is your knowledge base. So that's more generative. And then receptionist is just a voice on top of that. Whereas our routing rules truly turns receptionist into like agentic AI. And so it's the instructions basically to what to listen for, how to route the call, where to route the call, and when. And so how you would structure a routing rule, and we'll go and show this too. And I'm going to probably call on Nick here in a minute because he is our definitely our best routing rule builder in the company, and he can share some more tips and tricks as well. But you really want to structure it as a holistic topic. So say instead of it saying delivery drivers, it said Tyler. You would, as long as the phone number and that email are unique to that, you can build in every scenario that you would want to go to Tyler. So if I'm handling move-ins and move-outs, leasing, and new vendors, you would build that into the routing instructions. And then depending upon how you actually want that call routed, we have the ability to prioritize messages versus phone calls. If you select phone, it will prioritize that at all times and usually will skip over like your knowledge base too. So if you always wanted to look at the knowledge base first, try to answer some questions, maybe even send you a message as well so you have it documented and not just the phone call. You want to set it as your priority as message so that you can start with the base layer of knowledge and then build on top of that before routing the call. Some clients say, hey, you know what, when somebody's calling about a home sale, don't ask them any questions. Don't tell them anything else. Just route it straight to this person and we'll answer no matter what time of day, basically. And so you can handle that too. Um, and then if you wanted different categories, like for home sales versus leasing and other topics, you would just break those into different routing rules if they have different destinations and time constraints. All right. I do want to stop there really quick before we dive in. Are there any burning questions that haven't been answered in the chat?
Tyler, the only one that's remaining right now, and I'll provide a little context because I didn't actually quote the questions in the answers. But first off, Sveti asked, can all tenants, owners, and vendors check on work order statuses, or is it specific to only one category with the upcoming updates? That's a great question. Right now, it will not be able to provide updates directly, though that is on our roadmap and coming in the near future. For now, it will transfer the call to someone who can provide an update and or send an email prompting a member of the team to respond. The other remaining question is, will we have a knowledge base through the Vendoroo link for future questions and how-tos?
Yes, so it's ready for that piece about the vendor link. Yeah, it's your dashboard here. So we can send it back out to everybody, but it's your regular marketplace.vendoroo.ai login where you can go in and see our dashboard and work orders. It's all contained in one space for you. And then what Nick just answered as well. So for the work order updates, our goal is to build that into Receptionist too. But as you mentioned, there's kind of a handoff to your AI maintenance coordinator as well. And so any updates can go through text and email to vendors, owners, and tenants at any time through the chat that they already have as well. So there isn't really like a need for them to call in. Of course, they may have a question, they can do that. But if they're communicating directly within the email chain or the communication thread that they have currently on that work order, they can always get an update directly there too. Okay, so once you log in, generally when you log in, you'll see, I think it goes to workspace first. So when you log in, you'll see this screen. At the top, you'll go to maintenance book first. And so this is the brain for all of your AI agents, including Receptionist. And Receptionist has its own dedicated tab. While you're on here, you can edit everything except for the assigned phone number. So the assigned phone number is your receptionist number. Generally doesn't need to be changed pretty much ever. But if your company name ever changes or you notice that receptionist was pronouncing it a little differently than you want, you can go and change the company name and it pronounces it kind of phonetically. So we had like one client that we just had to kind of change the spacing, change some of the letters, change some of the words. So the company name actually looked a little weird, but Receptionist was able to pronounce it perfectly. So the company name you can change to kind of flex how it is pronounced. Then you have your AI teammate's name. So you can change this at any time too, and pick male versus female here. Those are the basic kind of settings right now. A lot of people have asked us for like settings around cadence or different voices, different accents, and other ethnicities as well. We are currently evaluating other ones. We just want to make sure that we're picking kind of the best options that are available out there as well. But we are taking a look at those too. So hopefully in the future, you will have an additional selection that you can make. All right. I would like to start with the knowledge base first. So the knowledge base is down here. It's a free text field. So at any time you can type it in. And what we recommend is generally to copy and paste this into a separate Word document. and then you can update it, edit it, etc., and then put it back. Now, a lot of people say, "Well, hey, this is a long document right here." This one's actually one of the shorter ones. Like some of these go 7, 8, 9, 10 pages long if you like copied it into a doc. And so our suggestion is that you actually take your lease, your property management agreement, and actually just put it into Chat GPT so it can generate it for you. I do have one up in my other tabs, I believe. I wanted to find that before this, and I'll take a look if I can see if I can find it during our Q&A and kind of showcase how that can work as well. Because once it produces it for you, you just copy and paste it back in. So like an example of the prompt would be, okay, I need to build a frequently asked questions and Q&A style document. Here are my policies and procedures, my lease, my property management agreement, and anything else you may want to add. Take all these documents, break it into Q&A categories, and give me the final output. And it does it usually pretty well. Just give it a quick scan, see if there's anything you want to add more details to or make different, and then you just copy and paste it here. You don't need to think about like every single question under the sun or have the question like outlined 5 different times. So like the leasing process or the application process, it will understand contextually, if they say, "Hey, I want to talk to somebody about submitting an application," or like, "What's the process to rent a property?" It should understand contextually what you're asking about. And then you just say, "Hey, we need a credit score of 600. Your income needs to be XYZ. We do a background check." And if you just include everything under that one topic, it'll be able to address it. So you don't need to have what is the credit score, what is the background check, what is the application like application process, what is the application itself, how do I get the application. You don't have to have everything broken out. You can just shrink it into one category. Anything in this knowledge base your receptionist can use to answer questions. So if you don't want it to give out certain phone numbers or people's contact information, you don't want to put that here. But if you do want to say like, "Oh, we want to give you their phone number in addition to routing you to the right person," you can say leasing department email and phone number are this, and I can also route you to that end destination as well. So you can pick and play or pick and choose on what you want to be in here. Just know that anything in here is considered fair game to provide that information to anybody that is calling. All right, so the real fun part is the routing rules. And this is where it shifts from just like a phone tree to actual an actual receptionist that is attempting to get a caller to the right place based on the topic as fast as possible and in the right manner, and also do any other instructions that you may want. So for example, this like delivery driver one, if somebody's calling like they're a vendor or they're coming to actually just deliver something, you can actually outline what you want to do. So like set the caller expectations, get the delivery details, then ask why they're coming. You can say like, don't let this progress further in the call without getting this information. Give examples as far as what you're asking. You can do like prompts as far as how much information to try and get to and really build out each and every stage. So similarly, like if you were trying to gather showing information before they even got transferred over to the leasing department, you say, "Hey, see if they're asking about a certain property, always see what size and number of bedrooms they want, always check when they want to move in," and you like outline those various steps. And then you could say, "Send a message with all those details to our leasing department," which you would put in this email address for the message routing. And then you can say, after that's collected, then transfer the call to the department if it's within business hours. So you can collect information while also routing the call so that you always have that and you can move it forward too. And you can do that with any topic as well. There's tons under the sun, so it's hard to narrow in on one specific use case. But if anybody has a specific one, I think Nick's answering questions kind of as we're going here too in the chat. But another cool use case is things around like business hours as well. So your call forwarding hours play into the routing rules as well. So if you don't have anything different in the routing rules, it will all, and you have phone selected. So if we go like Roy, if we have a phone number selected here, anytime within these business hours, if the criteria for that routing rule are met, it will route it to that number. You can have routing rules where you don't actually have a phone number. So it'll never route the phone call. So it'll just say, hey, I'm going to take a message. I'll forward it on, and they'll reach out to you when they can. And that goes via email. So it'll go straight to whatever inbox that you want with the details of the call. And you can, like we showed in the other one, you can structure this and say, Roy always needs first name, purpose, when they need an answer by. And you say just like, always include these in the message, and the message that then goes out to you should always be structured in the way you want. So yeah, so going back to the call forwarding hours. So anytime within that period, it will route a call if one is selected as being able to be routed via phone. Now you can play with this. And so the call forwarding hours that you have here should be the most flexible that you have. Say there always needs to be some form of call routing Monday through Saturday between 8 and 5. Doesn't mean it's always to the same person, doesn't mean it's always the same topic, but if you took into account all the different calls and people's availability, that would be the total sum of them. That is what you would want here in your call forwarding hours. And then in the routing rules, you would actually go and change the hours. So like for prospective tenants to your team, and then at the bottom, so like it's order of operations. So you always want to put the last step at the bottom. So then we'd say only transfer this call between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m., for example. And so it would then look at this holistic routing instruction, gather all the information, and before it does the final step of routing the call, it'll check the time, say, oh, am I within this time frame? Great. And if not, then it'll say, hey, sorry, like that person's not available now, but I have all your information, and we'll send that along to them and they'll reach out. So a couple different ways that you can kind of play with the instructions. You could also say, do not forward calls to this number on Fridays because somebody might only work 4 days a week, but the overall team is available 5 days a week. So you can definitely play with that as well. And then as I mentioned, the best practices, if you want anything other than a phone routing to be done, always select message and then build out the workflow. And then you can still have the phone routing selected. However, if you have phone as the priority, even with these two things, the receptionist is viewing that as like, I just need to transfer this, and it can skip a lot of the steps that you may outline here. So just whenever you want other steps to be taken prior to the call being made, including the knowledge base being looked at to try and answer questions before transferring it, just always select message. And so what we're kind of finding now is that it kind of across the board, the better default for people is just to select message first. And then that gives you a little more kind of structure and flexibility as you start building out your routing rules too. All right. Any questions on either the knowledge base or the routing rules before we go into kind of the insights?
So there's one outstanding that I haven't answered yet, which is, are those sample details available for us to use? I.e., can you share the delivery driver template so we can upload and then tweak versus starting from scratch? Yes, absolutely. We are putting together more of an overview of all of the this default discussion topics so that we can share those. But before we have that together, you can always reach out to your account manager. Your account manager has access to all of them, so we can just copy and paste the discussion topics in, makes it super easy on you, and then you can tweak it from there. Ones that you'll definitely want to make sure that gets added in is your default unlisted discussion topic. Think of that as a fallback. That is, it's not just going to be your default contact, because if you don't have a default discussion topic through, then the AI is not recognizing what the caller is about. It'll just cold transfer the call. Tyler, if you scroll up, there's one called default unlisted discussion topic. If you click on that one, it's right there, right under prospective owners. That one will take the caller through just a quick workflow to understand what they're talking about, send you an email, and then transfer the call. And it's polite about it rather than just cold transferring. So when you're looking at the topics themselves and thinking about the caller's experience, it's also important to have at the bottom of these prompts an escalation failsafe. So if somebody's declining discovery, getting frustrated, or just wants to talk to a person, let the AI just transfer the call and just tell them, hold on while I get someone on the line for you. So we put that into the majority of these prompts. But yes, they're all available to you. We can very easily copy and paste them in.
Awesome. Thanks.
Looks like
Okay.
there's actually one more. We found the business hours of the AI receptionist are centered on Pacific time. We're on Mountain time. How do we change that? Great question. If you message your account manager, we can adjust the time zone on the back end for you. Ooh, more questions are just rolling in. If there's a way for us to add a call menu option, such as for accounting, press one, for leasing, press two. There isn't. However, we can have the AI be able to ask that question up front as far as which department are you looking for, and then it can then route from there. But it's designed to be able to talk to the caller as if somebody just called the front desk and then understand that topic, find the right discussion topic based on what they're talking about, have those conversations, send the information that you want, and then transfer the call. That's what it's set up to do.
Real quick, Nick. Real quick on that topic, Nick, as well. So a lot of times in your phone tree right now, it says like press one, two, and some clients ask about, well, okay, how does it actually route to that like number two then? Behind each one of those is usually an extension in your phone provider or an actual like full number itself. So like if accounting is one, there may be like an extension one, two, three that's actually the full number that's being dialed when people press one. So in your routing rules, you would then just put that number as the destination for accounting and for leasing. You just put the full number or the extension and it'll go through there. But yeah, like as Nick mentioned, the idea is that it's topic based and that so they don't have to say like accounting press one. It's like let me gather some information from you. And then now I actually know you're talking about accounting. So I'm going to forward it to the accounting team overall.
Another question came up. Can you explain how routing rules pertain to emergency escalation versus issues via work orders? Great question. So the AI can read your emergency policy, so it understands what is an emergency and what is not an emergency. If it's meeting the criteria for an emergency, it will automatically transfer to your emergency destination. Now, if you're using our Rescue service, it'll transfer there. If you're not using our Rescue service and you have a different, like if you have somebody who's on call handling emergencies, or you're utilizing a different service for that, that's perfectly fine. It will still transfer. We just need to make sure that that number is listed in the routing information so it can transfer appropriately. And then if it is not meeting that criteria as far as an emergency, it'll use its standard work order flow. So it will use its work order creation tool and it'll create the work order in your system. And then it's not going to transfer the call, but it's going to follow the normal process. So in either case, the work order does get created. And then if it's an emergency, the call gets transferred. If it's not an emergency, the voice line will just tell the caller, thank you for submitting the work order. I've gone ahead and gotten that taken care of for you. Maintenance will be reaching out to you. Maintenance will be reaching out to you shortly, or if it's after hours, during business hours.
Awesome. All right. And yeah, so I know Courtney's been asking about the insights. So within all of your client portals, if you click on insights, you should actually have two tabs. One is, I believe it's vendor network or vendor insights, and the other one would say receptionist. Um, our dev team hit it from our sandbox account, but you also see this drop down that says receptionist. And what that will look like when you open it is something similar to this. And so you can see when the call came in, who the call came actually from, so the number. And we for some phone providers, sometimes they mask like the original one. So it could be an update that you just need to make with your phone provider, but usually it flows straight through to where we recognize who the original caller is, gives an overall summary of the call as well as the call transcript in that middle section. It'll show you how many questions were answered, if any messages were sent or work order was created, or what the overall routing was for that call. Within there too, you can say listen to recording as well, right there. Or if you just want to stay on the overall like broad view, you can see listen and then an overall score of the call. And that's we basically have like a ranking or we call it the judge AI that's like ranking the call and like how it was actually working. And so if you see a historically low one, reach out to your account manager. We're happy to dive into some calls and see kind of what's going on. But usually you should see a pretty decent experience score there as well. Call finish is how did the call actually end up? If it was forwarded, that means it went to another destination. Client hang up means the receptionist actually hung up. Caller hang up means that the caller actually hung up. So you can see like who hung up first. And then usually it puts the like destination, like what number it went to, or if a message was created, or if a work order was created, etc. on there. So yeah, you have access to this 24/7, 365 through your dashboard, and you can always review any of these calls. So if you start getting like a bunch of calls about certain topics, you go and say, okay, who's calling? When are they calling? Do I need to change a routing rule, or do I need to add something to my FAQ, etc.? How many calls can the AI handle simultaneously? As many as you have. So yeah, we do monitor that on our side to make sure we always have capacity for concurrent calls. So yeah, there's no limitation. It's not like if for example, like if two tenants both call in and say like my pipes are frozen, they're bursting right now, it'll handle both of those at the same time.
Tyler, on that, in theory, I mean, there it's limitless. We haven't seen more than 20 at the same time. I don't think that you're going to get 20 calls at the same time, but we haven't seen more than 20 at the same time happen. But in theory, it's limitless. If we need to increase bandwidth on there, we can very, very easily. So we're constantly monitoring that, looking for capacity issues.
And then Alexa asks, how do you get there again? So yeah, if you log into your Vendoroo dashboard, not sorry, wrong one, back up. Regular insights, you should see a tab that says receptionist right below it. So, couple of just a couple calls I wanted to showcase really quick with a couple different.
So get multifamily. This is Navi. How can I help you?
Oh my goodness, I didn't expect to actually reach a live person. I'm doing well. How are you doing tonight?
I'm glad to hear you're doing well. I'm just a virtual assistant, but I'm here to help you with any questions or
Oh
concerns.
my God, like a real.
So yeah, that one's kind of fun. Just kind of goes to show like this was an after hours call. Came in at like I think like 7 or 8 p.m. But somebody was there to answer their question. It's a 3 minute long call, so I didn't want to show the whole thing. But the outcome of it was the individual was actually asking about a $75 late fee that they had on their lease, and they worked all throughout the day, so they didn't have time to call during business hours. But the receptionist was able to say, "Hey, that team isn't working right now, but I can take a message for you. They can definitely get back to you." Collected their phone number, email, and then forwarded on that information. So really cool use case for people that like work out. Like everybody works 8 to 5, it seems like, and everybody tries to get everything done right after that. And so able to answer questions as needed there. The next one is showcasing a knowledge base answer. So using the actual knowledge base itself to answer a question prior to even routing the call.
Hello, property management. This is Annie. How can I help you?
Hi, Annie. I am looking to buy a property and I need to get pre-qualified for a loan. Can Hardin Realty help me with that?
Hardin Realty partners with Juno Mortgage to offer in-house mortgage services. They can help with loan pre-approvals as well as a variety of loan programs offering competitive rates and transparent fees. Do you have any specific questions about pre-qualification, or would you like me to connect you to someone in the real estate sales team for further assistance?
What kind of loans do you have available through Juno?
Juno Mortgage offers a diverse selection of loan programs, including conventional, jumbo, FHA, VA, DSCR, 203K renovation, bank statement, P&L ITIN, DPA, and more.
So that one, it was even like multi-layered. So ask the initial question, do you have any, what do you want to know about loans? They ask, provides it. Then it actually followed up and said, do you have any additional questions? And the follow-up question, those answers were in the knowledge base too. So there can be a full conversation depending upon how the knowledge base is built out. And this last one is actually supposed to say work order created.
Hello, property management. This is Emily. How can I help you?
Yes, Emily, is this for maintenance?
Yes, I can assist you with maintenance. Could you please tell me more about the issue you're experiencing?
Yeah, so I have an electric lawnmower. I plugged it into the kitchen outlet and then it went off and then I slipped on the breaker and it was working. Then when I plugged in the electric lawnmower, the electricity in my kitchen's not working now and the breaker's not helping.
I'm sorry to hear about the issue with your kitchen electricity. Let's create a maintenance request to get this resolved. Could you please provide me with your complete address, including the unit number?
It's not a unit. It's 961 Mayor Street, Meyer Street, Meyer, New Braunfels, Texas 78130.
Thank you for providing the details. Based on the information, I found an address that matches 961 Meyer Street, New Braunfels, Texas 78130. Could you confirm if this is correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and so it will actually try to match the address with your PMS. So that way, when the work order is created, we can upload it back into your property management system. So you have a full record of it, and then see the status of it, vendor, and then all the vendor and tenant triage coordination, triage troubleshooting, and coordination that happens through your AI maintenance coordinator if you subscribe to our tier, so our direct or command tiers. Even if they call in and you're on our engaged tier that just does the troubleshooting and triage, work order will still get created, still will troubleshoot and triage additionally with the tenant, and then it will forward that on to your team once the triage completes. Now, we are building up and increasing the ability for troubleshooting live with the receptionist. But kind of think about it as roles and responsibilities. So right now we kind of have your receptionist and we have your maintenance coordinator. And your receptionist, they're really good about like knowing who answers what questions, some basic questions to answer, and like where information needs to go. Like they're the gatekeeper. And so once they understand the context and the information, then they're passing the football to the next most knowledgeable person. And so for maintenance, that is your AI maintenance coordinator. And so it passes that off, and then your AI maintenance coordinator has a tremendous amount of additional knowledge than the receptionist has. And so some people also ask, like, well, why can't you just put the brain of one into the other? Right now, full transparency, it is based on like computing power of like the LLMs. And so like the longer you make your knowledge base, the longer you make your routing rules, the longer you make the instructions and what it needs to do, the longer it has to think, just like a human. Like if you gave them a lease with no Q&A and like for the first time, they would actually have to scan it, say, hey, actually, like, let me check your lease, let me look for this specific area. That would take a lot more time than if you just had like, oh, what's the move-in criteria? Like when can I move in? And that's just an FAQ. That's just a simple lookup. So think about it the same way as it's around like processing power. So the faster you want your receptionist to answer, the more clear, concise, and combined you want things to be as well in your knowledge base and your routing rules. And then as we're wrapping up here, kind of upcoming features, as I mentioned. So warm transfers, we highlighted that briefly at the beginning where your receptionist will stay live throughout the call. Basically, hey, give me a second. Let me see if that person's available. Try to reach whatever the destination is. And if they accept it, it'll route them. If they either don't answer or say no, then it will take a message. And then the other piece that we're really excited about, and as I mentioned, we're beta testing right now with some clients, is leasing. So here's an example call of an available property, and this is a full live sync between a property management systems, like available properties and like marketing side, and a caller.
Good. I was just driving by Marietta Avenue, and I saw you have a unit available for rent. Is it still available, and how much is the price?
Absolutely. We have a fantastic 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment available on Marietta Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. It's ready for immediate move-in, and the monthly rent is $1,850. It's a lovely upper unit right near Edgewater Park, offering modern appliances and an in-unit washer dryer. Would you like to know more about the features or perhaps discuss the application process?
Sure. Is there an application fee?
Yes, there is an application fee of $75 per adult applicant, and it's non-refundable. If you're ready to apply or need more details, just let me know.
Sure. Yeah. Apply and start the application process.
That's fantastic news. I can text you the application link right now. What is your phone number for the text message?
It's 416-095.
Perfect. I've sent the application link to your phone. It should be in your messages now. If you have any questions while completing the application, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. So that's a brief example of one of the leasing flows. It can also tie into providing links to the actual listing itself. So there, like if you integrate with like ShowMojo, Tenant Turner, there's a couple others out there as well, where it just gives a link to the listing. They can schedule a showing, complete the application, so it can tie right into where you want them to go. Yeah, Kelton, as long as there's like a link to it, we can supply that. So we just need to know like the base link that you have, and then we attach the unique like property ID to it when we send that out. Merad, somebody had a good question. Merad's actually our product owner for Receptionist. Would the AI know if other applications have already been submitted? Are we planning on looking at that information?
Uh, Are they talking about the applications regarding leasing or just work orders?
Yeah, leasing. So if somebody like how that person called about that property, would they be able to tell the prospect, actually, we have a couple pending applications, just so you're aware, or actually we have an approved application, so this property may not be available anymore. Like, are we able to pull that information?
That's not currently, but that's on the roadmap right now, for us to look into deeper integrations with their PMS. So that would be one of them.
Cool. So Brian, for the vendor dispatch. So receptionist is intake right now. Receptionist is not like outbound calling. So it would pass on that work order to your basically your AI maintenance coordinator. And if there's anything that like is a mismatch or like doesn't fully resolve itself when that sync is made, our human in the loop team, which we're really proud of to have as a feature for all of our clients, they're reviewing any of those cases that come up and say, hey, this one actually like looks a little strange. The AI doesn't know exactly where to go because maybe like this person who called in doesn't match anywhere, and so that it should prevent that from happening. We haven't seen that happen anywhere yet.
Courtney, you asked if there's a routing template for maintenance that differentiates between general maintenance questions and then how it becomes the AI maintenance coordinator. That's you don't need a template for that. That's built into the default. As soon as it does the work order creation tool and submits the work order, it's now in the property management software, and then that triggers the maintenance coordinator, the troubleshooting AI to kick in and start working. That also kind of answers Brian, your question about how does it differentiate or how does it understand tenancy. Right now, the voice line doesn't understand tenancy, so that may be available once the leasing AI is fully up and running. But the best practice there is just make sure that we have a workflow in place so that it's double checking the resident contact information against what was submitted. And then if there's discrepancies, bubble that up to you or your team so that you can go, okay, this is not an actual resident, cancel the work order. And then it'll ask you questions. It's not going to be very common that it's not going to be the contact information isn't going to match, but it does happen from time to time. So we want to make sure that we're escalating that appropriately as it comes up. And
So
then,
Keel, last
Anna,
one.
you would ask a question before answering a tenant's questions regarding management agreement and leasing. Does it ask for verification, or is that something that we would need to route into its brain? It will answer general questions. It's not going to give specific information about a specific lease or agreement. Unfortunately, there's no way for the AI to tell whether somebody is lying or not. So we don't want to have it be giving out specific information about someone's specific lease, because then you risk giving out PII. It's better to have the call transfer at that point.
Keel asked if somebody's calling about a current work order, will the assistant provide the current status? Right now, right now for any existing work orders, it will, if you're on either direct or command, it will route it to us internally to trigger an update through your other maintenance coordinator agent. However, that is on our roadmap right now, is to kind of encompass the current state of work orders as well as work order history. So that one, if they call in about an existing work order, it can provide the update live on the phone. And then also if they call in and say, hey, my sink is clogged, it can check back work order history and say, hey, we saw this work order from a few weeks ago. Is it the same issue, or are you having other challenges with it? So that it can collect additional information and also not start from the beginning. So those two things are currently in the works.
And then is there an ability to have the receptionist identify from the number calling in from our PMS if it is a resident owner, identify them by name and property? Not yet. Once we have more of the functionality of the leasing side, that is one of the areas that we're looking at as having on the roadmap, being able to identify the caller right away. But right now, it's not currently a functionality of it.
Awesome. Any other questions from anybody?
You're caught up on questions. I love it.
Awesome. Well, everybody, really appreciate your time. We love all of our amazing clients. And if there are any prospects on this call as well, sometimes they do join, please feel free to reach out with any additional questions. We'd love to showcase what we have for you. And then also, if there's anything for our current clients on the call, you're like, hey, this was really cool, but I'm not entirely sure how to do it, please reach out to your account managers. We're more than happy to kind of help fine tune and get things to where you want it to be, so it's the best it possibly can be for you. And yeah, a survey will go out after this. If you have any feedback, please supply that. Hopefully, I was talking a little slower today than in the past. And if there's any topics that you really want us to showcase in the next webinar, please feel free to put those in. We take client feedback as well as kind of our roadmap and releases that we're coming up with into account. But we always want to make sure you all feel supported in what you're trying to accomplish too.
And
And
Shayla, you asked a
all
question, how do we get a copy of the recording? We'll be sending out a copy of the recording as soon as it's done. We'll send it out by email so everybody will have that. We just need to make sure that the recording converts. It's a longer call, so it takes like an hour. But after that, after it's ready, we'll send that out. One other thing I noticed, there's an implied question in here that we didn't actually address, which is regarding, there was a question about being able to connect it to things like Showdigs, Tanit Turner, and Show Mojo, etc. One of the things we can have it do is many of those other like CRMs and lead tracking softwares have an email to object creation tool. We can actually connect the email that the AI is sending, the voice line is sending to that tool to log it in those systems and log the call before the call gets transferred so that you get more of a seamless experience. Reach out to your account manager if you are using that or you're interested in using that. They'll help you get it set up.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we hope you have a fantastic holiday season as well.